practice of using coin to pay soldier and mercenaries originate much earlier with the advent of coins. Farm the land, even if the coins that they were receiving were worthless. So you can see the original tetradrachma from Greek, the Greek tetradrachma, and under it you have the Egyptian tetradrachma from the 4th century CE. So this is how much devaluation happened there about the Crusades. So to wage their religious war in the Holy Land, the Crusader need access to their coin while far away from home. This is the rise of the Templar proto-banking system. There was a mansion redeemable in gold, as you can see on the collection camp. And after that, in 1934, so after the Executive Order 6102, you have just a mention. This note is legal tender. That's when the term legal tender. Hello everyone, this is the second episode of Hands-on Monetary Education, and today we delve into the intricate connections between money, violence, and war. This relationship between war and money is something vast and profound. We're not even scratching the surface today. First, I will show you how this connection has traveled to the ages via our language, and how from immemorial times coins have been instrumental both to wage war and bring about peace. So let's begin this fun inquiry where we combine linguistic clues and tangible evidence straight from my collection of numismatic artifacts. Let's start with this first slide about linguistic and etymology. The word soldier comes from the Latin word solidus, which is a gold coin used to pay a Roman soldier. The word soldier came to mean someone who served for pay in an army. We also have the word salary, which originated from the Latin word salarium, a Roman soldier rations of salt. Note that while I'm referring here to the solidus as the origin of the word soldier, the solidus itself appeared very late in the Roman history. However, the practice of using coin to pay soldier and mercenaries originate much earlier with the advent of coins. The advent of coins was a very practical way of paying soldier and mercenaries. The Persian used the sigils. In his book, When Money Talks, Frank L. Holtz reveals the reason behind this success. The innovation spread rapidly, probably abetted by the demand of Greek mercenaries for payment in money that could easily and quickly be spent or stored without losing its value. This explains why the Persians adopted coinage in some areas of their empire where they recruited and stationed mercenary soldiers. Alexander the Great paid his large army using coin, and that's largely how Attic standard spread across his whole empire during his reign. We can generalize and say that paying troops with proper coin played a significant role in their circulation and adoption. That's what Christopher Owego, author of Ancient History from Coin, suggests. Military movements and the use of subsequent dispersal of mercenary troops will have had an important role to play in the circulation of coins. It seems clear that patterns of productions were heavily influenced by the need to pay off Alexander troops returning from the east. So we can now go to the collection camp and have a look at my very own sigils coin. It's a real one, this one, so it's the coin that were used by the Persian. And I also have a replica of a drachma, a Greek drachma from the Attic standard. While some of you may be tempted to conclude from the last few slides that carnage is an enabling factor for wars and violent conflicts, the monetary expert Frank L. Holt tempered with this somewhat simplistic view. Commerce did not create coins, and coins did not create commerce. They simply worked together. Similarly, coins did not give rise to war, slavery, tyranny, or empire. Carnage simply learned, as did poetry, art, and history, to take part. As we just saw, we can find clear traces of coins being used to wage war. However, we cannot deny that money also played a critical conflict resolution function and facilitated peace. Again, interestingly, we find obvious traces of this in the language. So our word pay is derived from the Latin pacare, to pacify, appease, or make peace with. In the same vein, blood money is a tradition where the perpetrator of a murder, injury, or crime could avoid blood feud or revenge by paying a compensation. So money revealed itself as an effective conflict resolution tool. Glenn Davis in his book argue that this type of use case was key to give rise to primitive money. The most common non-economic forces which gave rise to primitive money was bride money and blood money. We can also find some reference for those words in the German language. Wehrgeld essentially mean blood money in German, and we also have the word Deingeld, which is a reference that was introduced during the late 9th century at a time when the Viking, called the Danes, were raiding England and other part of Europe. Deingeld payments were meant to buy peace or secure protection from further Vikings attack. You have an image of a penny from England that was used in those times to pay the Danes. And here on the collection cam, I have a very similar coin from France that have the similar aspect, like with a cross in the center and the same type of writing around. That's the real coin from the same period from France. So let's conclude this section on antiquity with the following observations. The result of the corrupt and declining Roman monetary system is the emergence of a Roman hereditary caste system for peasants, soldiers, and workers in the state's controlled industries. When the state extracts value from its population in exchange of worthless coin, financial repression ensues. So what happened back then is that the coins were devalued so much that at some point the peasants were not accepting them anymore in exchange of their work. So the Diocletians invented this hereditary caste to force them to stay on their land and cultivate their land as well as their descendants, to ensure that they would still farm the land even if the coins that they were receiving were worthless. So you can see the original tetradrachma from Greek, the Greek tetradrachma, and under it you have the Egyptian tetradrachma from the 4th century CE. So this is how much devaluation happened there. So you can see it was a big silver coin at first, and at the end it was just a small copper coin, and the peasants were refusing it, and they ended up with an hereditary caste. Slides about the Crusades. So to wage their religious war in the Holy Land, the Crusader need access to their coin while far away from home. This is the rise of the Templar proto-banking system. And in the collection cam, you can see a dinar from Hungary that bears the double crosses from that time. So our last slide is a modern example of confiscation and coercion. So basically what happened in 1933 is the Executive Order 6102, which the government seized every gold coin or gold certificate that the people had, and to replace them with just fiat money. And you can still see the trace of that moment on the bills today. So in 1928 there was a mention redeemable in gold, as you can see on the collection cam. And after that in 1934, so after the Executive Order 6102, you have just a mention, this note is legal tender. That's when the term legal tender came upon. So this is still violence exerted on people forced to use a specific and often suboptimal money inflated away to benefit the government, exactly as we saw with the Roman example of Diocletian. Alright, so let's wrap up with this. Essentially, in antiquity, war facilitated the adoption of coinage. During the medieval period, the Crusades created new demand for banking services. Additionally, antiquity witnessed forms of financial repression that ultimately contributed to the emergence of a hereditary caste system. In modern times, financial repression contributed to the development of the fiat currency system as we know it today. So thank you, everyone. See you to the next session.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
I was raised a little young nigga doing bad shit. Talk much shit cause I never had shit. I could remember being whooped in class, and if I didn't pass, mama whooped my ass. Was it my fault? Papa didn't plan it out. Broke out, left me to be the man of the house. I couldn't take it, had to make a profit. Found a block, got a Glock, and I clocked bricks. Making G's was my mission. Moving up for this shit to get my mama out the kitchen. And while